The Indians return home with 1 week to go in the regular season, and all eyes will be on Francisco Lindor as he makes his final case for Rookie of the Year honors. The 21-year-old leads the American League in batting average since the All-Star break and has helped solidify the Tribe's defense in the second half of the season. Corey Kluber will be rooting on his teammate as he tries to get back in the win column. Next on Sports Time Ohio. From Progressive Field in downtown Cleveland, Ohio, the Indians return for their final homestand of the regular season. Tonight it's Cleveland, and they host the Minnesota Twins. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Great to be back with you. Feeling a lot better. Thanks to Al for pinch hitting the last few days. Rick, let's get into it. American League Rookie of the Year honors are still up for grabs, and Francisco Lindor has a chance to make his closing argument. Since he got called up, he's fifth in all of baseball in hits. He's got the best batting average in the American League since the All-Star break.
Well, I have to tell you, since the trading deadline, the Indians made that trade, and Lindor was called up. He has been the spark plug for this team. This team has taken off. They've taken on a different type of personality, and he's been right at the center of it. Offensively, defensively, he's fit into the number 2 hole, hitting from both sides of the plate. When you look at the AL Rookie of the Year watch, Francisco Lindor is right there, along with another shortstop, Carlos Correa, who's having a terrific year in Houston, and they've got a chance to go to the playoffs as well. And you have 2 with the Minnesota Twins, Miguel Sano, who's played in 73 games. He's been DHing more than playing third. And Eddie Rosario has been a nice player for them. 15 triples, 12 homers, and he has 16 assists from the outfield. So any one of those guys could win it, to be honest with you.
Corey Kluber gets the ball for the Tribe tonight. His season has been strange. When he doesn't allow a home run, his earned run average is just 2.05. When he gives up a home run or more, that ERA balloons to over 5. So that'll be a key thing to watch tonight.
Well, and Corey Kluber, I mean, we've talked about it all year. Okay, he has the lowest run support in the league, but there's times where he hasn't made his pitches when he has had to. Like last year, anytime he needed an out, he got it. This year, he makes one mistake, it seems to hurt him. If your offense, just get him 4 runs, he's going to win the ball game. He's 5-0 this year with a 2.17 ERA. It's hard to believe he has 15 losses. It really is, but he's 230 strikeouts, third in the American League. He's still one of the elite pitchers in the American League. He just needs a little more help from his friends.
Well, both the Indians and the Twins still fighting for a potential spot in baseball's postseason. When we come back, Andre Knott will join us to talk about the Twins' chances when we return. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. And a beautiful evening in downtown Cleveland as the Indians get ready to take on the Minnesota Twins tonight behind right-hander Corey Kluber. The Indians come in right at the 500 mark, 77-77. Twins are 5 games over 500. They're 80-75. And Paul Molitor's ball club is just 1 game back in the loss column behind both the Astros and the Angels when you look at this wild card race. Let's get on to Andre Knott. What are the Twins saying about their chances right now?
Well, they like their chances. They're a game and a half out as you just went through the numbers. And, you know, you look at their roster, peppered with a lot of youth, a lot of guys that really haven't been here before. Paul Molitor thinks that's a good thing and a bad thing. When you talk to Torrey Hunter, and Paul Molitor says that's why they have a guy like Torrey Hunter. And the message he's trying to get across to the younger guys on this team, there's no moment like now. There's no guarantee that you'll have a week left in the season a year from now and be a game and a half out. They're not trying to look back to the mistakes they've made in the past. They don't want to talk about their age. But the storyline from that side is, look, we have a chance. We've got 7 games left, maybe 8. Let's go out and win every one or as many of them as we can and see if we can sneak into this thing. As you guys know, they've been dealing with illness and everything else. But as Torrey Hunter said, take advantage of the moment right now because there's no guarantee you'll get it back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know what? Minnesota, they've got a tough schedule. They're 4 here, and then they go home and play Kansas City. But what they are battling is the flu, and some of those people over there, the starting pitcher out today, Hughes, he's sick, so now Tommy Milone's going to go. But you know what? No time like the president. When you have an opportunity to go out there, you have to play regardless of what is going on and what happens. You got 7 left. You leave it all on the field. And that man knows better than anybody, and Torrey Hunter does too. So those 2 guys that can help him, one as a player, one as a manager, certainly can help.
The bigger problem tonight for Minnesota is the guy that will oppose them on the pitching mound, and that's Corey Kluber, because he has now his last time out, it didn't go well for Corey, but other than that, he has literally dominated this Minnesota club so far this year. Kluber and the Indians take the field. And we'll get a look at Molitor's starting lineup for the Twins tonight, brought to you by Toyota. Brian Dozier in the leadoff spot with 28 home runs this year. Aaron Hicks bats second. Joe Mauer will hit third. Miguel Sano in the cleanup spot. Then it's Trevor Plouffe, Eddie Rosario, Torrey Hunter, Chris Herman, and Eduardo Escobar will bat ninth.
And Corey Kluber is our Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher. And Kluber, his 31st start tonight. His last one came against the Minnesota Twins, and he was cruising for the first 3. He went out in the 4th. Dozier hit a solo home run, and he ended up giving up 4 runs in that inning. It was a 4-run 4th inning. He got the ball upstairs. It was elevated. Prior to coming in, he was 2-0 against those guys, and as you say, Matt, he dominated. But you never know against this team. Kluber, you got to get some run support for him. He's been okay. I think he'll be just fine tonight, and hopefully he can go out and get this homestand started on a very positive note. Let's set the defense behind him tonight, brought to you by Ram. Brantley is in left, Almonte center, Rayburn gets the start over in right. Aviles at third, Lindor at short, Kipnis at second, Santana at first, and Gomes doing the catching.
Mark Ripperger is behind the plate. Alan Porter at first. The crew chief, Jeff Kellogg, at second base, and Brian Onora is down at third. Our window systems, game time temperature, 78 degrees. Not much of a breeze at all. What we do have will carry the ball out a bit towards center field. Rain in the forecast for much later tonight. So all in all, the conditions should be very good for this evening's game. Brian Dozier steps in. We're ready to go. Twins have gone 9-6 against the Indians this year. They have split the 6 played so far here in Cleveland. First ball swinging back towards us and over our head up into the upper deck.
Well, you want to get the ball down. That one was maybe just a little too high. He had a good swing, and Dozier, as we told you before, is a great high fastball hitter. Matter of fact, that home run he hit off Kluber was a fastball up and away, and it was his first one to right field this year back in Minnesota.
Hammers this one to short, backhanded by Lindor. Off balance throw. Santana comes off the bag and applies the tag. One away.
Well, Dozier trying to slide out of the way of the tag. So he goes head first, and Lindor makes a very good play. Even though it's a little off line, Santana able to come off and make the tag. Good play.
That'll bring up Aaron Hicks, the switch hitter. Boy, Lindor gets rid of it quickly, doesn't he?
He sure does.
Hicks in his last 7 games has 4 multi-hit efforts. Fouls this one off his foot. '25-year-old switch hitter.
Really started to come into his own this year. Won that center fielder's job. Brian Buxton, another guy that had that opportunity to play out there, and Hicks just flat out, he won the battle.
The 0-1. Back out of play. Yeah, you look at Hicks at 25, Byron Buxton just 21. He, like Lindor, one of those promising young rookies, hasn't had the splash.
But it's taken Hicks a while because, you know, he's had his chances and he's come up and he just couldn't do it, had to go back down again. So he's not the one guy that has come to the big leagues and stuck. He's gone up and down.
Just missed with that 0-2 offering. Corey Kluber just 6 strikeouts away from 700 career punchouts. Couldn't get him to chase. 2-2. I mean, it's hard to believe, Rick, that so far this year, even with the last start in which the Twins got him for 5 hits in his 4 innings, actually 3 2/3 innings, he's limited them to a 122 batting average this year.
Yeah, this is one team, and you're in the division.
Kluber throws him out, 2 down.
You know, he's tough to hit.
He's given up 12 hits in his starts against Minnesota this year. 12 for 100 now.
Well, that's why the only game they won was in the last start when they were able to put 4 on the board in 1 inning. That's what you do against a good starter. If you got a chance, you have to either hit a home run with some guys on base or you jump them early.
Mauer sends one to deep center. Almonte won't get it. It's off the wall. Hit that out-of-town scoreboard and ricocheted back. Mauer is into second base with a 2-out double.
I think it's safe to say that the Twins are going to be very aggressive tonight off Kluber. That's
sure
how they
way.
were in Minnesota. You get after that first pitch. If you see a strike and Mauer stays on it nicely, it hits the wall halfway up. So for Joe Mauer, he gets his 32nd double and an opportunity for the Twins to get on the board here in the first.
Miguel Sano was the American League Rookie of the Month in August when he hit 9 home runs. In fact, when you talk about Sano and what he's done home run wise, from July on, he's hit 17. That's all of his home runs for the year. Only Jimmy Hall in 1963 hit more home runs from July on for the Twins in a season. He hit 26 that year.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all. Well, this guy, he's 260 pounds. And, I mean, he doesn't just hit them. He hits them a long way. They're not the wall scrapers. By trade, a third baseman, but DH is an awful lot.
Back into the crowd.
Trevor Plouffe is the guy that's leading that team in RBIs, and he's having a good year, so he plays third base a lot. But this is another candidate. Him, Eddie Rosario. Those are Minnesota's versions of Rookie of the Year, and they're legitimate as well, as we told you in the open.
Mauer's at second with 2 down. And that ball's hammered to left center. It's in the alley. That'll go off the scoreboard. Sano trades places with Mauer, and Minnesota takes a 1-0 lead on back-to-back 2-out doubles in the first.
I mean, just watch how Sano pulls the hands in on this pitch on the inside part of the plate and shows you how strong he is. He puts a nice short swing on it, and he hits the ball just about where Joe Mauer did. There comes that two-seamer in, and he got the barrel head of the bat out in front. Pull the hands in. Nice swing. So back-to-back doubles, and Minnesota draws first blood here tonight. Sano his 51st RBI and his 17th double. All coming with 2 outs.
And now Trevor Plouffe.
Plouffe was off yesterday with a little bug that is going around that Minnesota clubhouse. Back in there today.
He's 0 for his last 12 at the plate. Good fastball, threw it by him 1-1. Well, first inning troubles have been a problem for Kluber this year. His ERA coming into tonight in the first inning was over 5. We noticed that early in the year, though. Teams often take a more aggressive approach.
Yes, they do. And why shouldn't you?
Deep left. Look out. It is gone to the bleachers. Trevor Plouffe with a 2-out, 2-run homer and 3 straight 2-out hits for the Twins. Minnesota jumps to a 3-0 lead in the first.
Well, and Plouffe has had good numbers against Kluber. He's hitting .306. That's his 3rd homer, and give him 2 more RBIs, his 10th. That's the 6th home run that Corey Kluber has given up in the first inning this year. It's going to be a high cutter that Plouffe jumps all over. That ball stayed middle of the plate, and he took advantage, and it looks like Kluber knew it as soon as he hit it. He didn't even bother to look. He just looked down, and that ball's into the seats. So 3 straight extra base hits for Plouffe, his 22nd homer, and 84th ribby.
Now Eddie Rosario, he takes a strike. Boy, Minnesota jumping on Kluber after there were 2 outs, nobody on base. Rosario swings and misses. It's 0-2.
That is also, as we've been keeping total all year long, the 28th first inning home run allowed by the Indians here.
And all told, Rick, 51 first inning runs allowed at home this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most runs the Indians have allowed in any inning at home this season. Strike 3 called, inning over. Kluber gets the strikeout to end it, but Minnesota gives some 2-out damage. They lead at 3-0. The Indians are coming to bat. Cleveland, the Indians coming to bat here in the bottom of the first. Tribe starting lineup tonight for Terry Francona, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis leading it off. Francisco Lindor bats second. He's had a great season so far against Minnesota in the 9 games he's played. Michael Brantley hitting third. Then it's Santana, Rayburn, and Gomes. Chris Johnson, Abraham Almonte, and Mike Aviles rounded out.
Tommy Milone, the Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher for tonight. Minnesota, he was pushed into this spot because Philip Hughes couldn't pitch. So Milone comes in. He's 8-5 on the year. He made one start against the Indians August 16th. He went 5 innings, gave up 3 hits, and gave up 1 run and got the win. He was returning from the DL. He missed 14 games before that start. Not an overpowering guy. He's a control guy. He needs both parts of the plate. They were going to push him into the start when we were in Minnesota, except he had some shoulder issues, so they kept him out of it. And he's back in here again.
Well, Kipnis and Carlos Santana each have 5 career hits against Tommy Milone. So that accounts for 10. He's only given up 21 against the Indians.
Yeah, in his career, he's 2-1 in his 5 starts.
Strikes out Kipnis to start. 1 away.
Take a look at the Twins defense, brought to you by Ram. In the outfield from left to right, it's Rosario, Hicks, and Hunter. On the infield from third to first, it's Plouffe, Escobar, Dozier, and Mauer. With Herman getting the start tonight, Suzuki gets the night off. He's caught 7 in a row, and he has bad numbers against Kluber. He's 0 for 10, so he's getting the night off. Not a bad night to get off when you're facing a guy like him if you're right-handed.
Francisco Lindor steps in. Yeah, Terry Francona had to shake his lineup up after they made the change from the right-hander to a lefty. Lindor takes it up high, 1-1. Lindor's batted .336 against lefties. Kind of upset with himself after chasing that last pitch up out of the zone. Here's the 1-2. Big curveball missed outside. Just missing. Milone wanted that pitch, didn't get the call. And the count goes full. Lindor has picked up a hit in 40 of his last 49 games. Starts tonight with a jolt to deep left field. Rosario's back, looking up. Goodbye. Francisco Lindor, home run number 11, and the Indians strike back. Trail it 3-1 in the first.
That is number 11 for Lindor. And it doesn't matter what side of the plate. This guy, he has some pop. Boy, he caught a fastball right down the middle, and look at Milone. He knew it. Bad location, and the hitter lets you know, and Lindor certainly did that. So at least they come back and they're on the board. They answered that 3-run top half of the inning.
I think that ball ended up in almost the exact same spot as the Plouffe home run. Michael Brantley takes a strike. Brantley went down awkwardly chasing a ball in left center field against these Twins a week ago. Good to see him back in the lineup. In the dirt, 1-2.
Yeah, it was 4 games off. Michael appeared yesterday. Not a bad year against the Twins this year. 375 average. Homer, 7 ribbies.
Breaking ball and got him. Malone has his second strikeout, 2 away. Our keys to the game brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Keep the Twins in the park. And some run support for Kluber. Already a Minnesota home run by Trevor Plouffe, a 2-run shot. And already some run support via Francisco Lindor's first inning home run. By the way, for Lindor, of his 11 home runs, 4 have come in the first inning now. Santana chasing one, 0-2. Santana went 1 for 10 in the series just completed against Kansas City. And one hit he had was a big one, a triple. Tied him up, but it's inside. On the appeal, he did not go around, and the count is 2-2.
I'm surprised he didn't ask a little quicker. Not that he went around, but when you're the catcher and you think you might have him, you got to ask soon. Sooner than what he did. He waited a little bit.
Chris Herman behind the dish tonight, 2-2. Pulled it to short, big hop for Escobar, and the inning is over. Francisco Lindor gets the Indians on the board with his 11th home run of the year. It's 3-1 Minnesota after an inning of play. Second inning, and let's take a look at our stat of the game brought to you by Buick. Corey Kluber with that strikeout to end the first inning gives him 500 over the last 2 seasons. Only Feller, Herb Score, and McDowell have accomplished that in Indians history.
Yeah, Feller more than once, and certainly Sam much more than once. And Corey puts another right-hander on the board to be with Bob. And the two left-handers, Herbie and Sudden Sam.
Torrey Hunter swings at the first pitch and lines it to right. That's going to go to the wall. Rayburn plays it, but not before Hunter goes into second base. Already the third double tonight for Minnesota.
Third double tonight, and that's Hunter's the seventh hitter, and four guys have gone after the first pitch. And there you'll see he stayed on it nicely. That's already the third double and the home run, so they are being very aggressive. Kluber may have to change his pattern a little bit as far as throwing a cutter or something off speed for first pitch, because they've been on that heater.
Chris Herman, the Twins catcher. Shows bunt, and I guess he pulled it back in time. Chris Herman has 30 starts behind the plate this year. In those 30 starts, he has 14 hits. But of those 14 hits, 7 of them have gone for extra bases, including 4 doubles, 2 homers, and a triple. So he doesn't hit a lot, but when he does, he usually puts a charge into it.
Well, like any guy, then when you're the backup catcher, your opportunities are only going to be a few. So when you do, you get up there and take advantage of it. The number one job is calling the game and handling the pitching staff. 4 straight.
Our AT&T U-verse rewind. Rick, let's look at the location on these pitches.
All right, and here's a Bauer fastball, a little bit up and away. He jumps on it. Sano hit the fastball inner part. He turned on it. Now the cutter, he left high, middle of the plate. Not a good pitch, and a fastball up and away. And that is what happened to Corey in that 4th inning in Minnesota. Everything started to get upstairs. He's got to get the ball down.
Eduardo Escobar, the batter, with 2 on, nobody out.
Now we'll see a bunt, I would think.
Throw to second. I think they got him. No, Hunter just did beat the tag.
Boy, that was close. That ball was about 6 inches lower, and it's tough to do because it's a snap throw by Gomes. It was right on the money. If it was 6 inches lower, they would have had him. You see, he has to wait for it to come down, and I think it just enabled Hunter's hand to get back into. They better. No, here comes Terry.
I thought they had him.
Okay, they got to check it out. I think they did now that they show that replay.
So the Indians will challenge, and I think they've got a good case here.
Just from that shot there, I agree with you. It looked like they got him on the shoulder before his finger hit the bag. Boy, that would be a big play right there for the Indians and Kluber. It was close, and right now Torrey Hunter's looking up there thinking, please let me get in there. He wants to see a replay, but he will eventually. But it was close.
Looked like when he dove short of the bag, and his momentum kind of stopped him from getting to it. Well, that was quick. I mean, lickety split quick.
Yeah, well, they showed us that shot right there when we were going out, and that's a beautiful play. Yan Gomes, great throw. I mean, it was right on the money. I thought it was a little high, but here comes the tag. Straight down. Here comes Hunter. He tags the. Look how close.
Wow.
You're talking about an inch. His finger's not quite to the bag yet. It doesn't get any closer than that. You can see why in real time the umpire called him safe, because it was that close.
Now Escobar will almost certainly be swinging, and he pops it up.
That was a break for the Tribe.
2 down. Take us to the top of the order now, and Brian Dozier. Dozier was robbed of a hit. Lindor made a nice play in the hole and threw him out. Santana did a good job on the other end to tag a diving Dozier at first base. Bullseye to the outside corner. Dozier comes in third in the American League in runs scored, just over 100 on the year. 28 times he's played it himself. Breaking ball couldn't get him to offer, and it's 2-1.
Yeah, those are pitches. That slider right there, when the hitter has a count even or in his favor, those are going to be the pitches they want to lay off. Those are 2-strike pitches for Corey right there, where you can get the hitter to chase it. But until they get to that point, I wouldn't swing at it. Yes, he did that time. He didn't want to, but he did. That's the cutter. That's a little tighter than the slider. This is about 89 miles per hour, and you're going to see it's down and away. And he thought it was a fastball, but couldn't hold up. He picked up the slider spin a little bit earlier.
Now the 2-2. Almost chased after it. Full count. And the payoff pitch, the runner goes. It's ball 4.
Second walk in the inning.
Rare to see that happen for Kluber.
Get live Indians baseball all season long with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Aaron Hicks chopped one out in front of the plate his first time up. Kluber threw him out. Floats one by him, strike one.
That was a changeup coming to the left-handers. He will throw it to the left-handers. Started him off first pitch, and he had Hicks out in front.
Kind of waved at it.
No.
Caught him in between with the changeup, and then he blazed a fastball right by him.
Yeah, and that one had some run to it. Check it out on our Nissan Pitch Tracker. Watch this thing run away. Look at that. Great movement. So you're right. He was caught in between after that first pitch changeup.
And the 0-2. Strike 3 called. Kluber gets his second strikeout of the night. Indians get a big out off the arm of Yan Gomes to short circuit a potential Twins rally. 3-1 Minnesota, middle of the second.
homestand, and you can get $10 bleacher seats. You can see the rest of this series with Minnesota. We have 3 more after tonight, closing with 3 with Boston over the weekend. You can go to Indians.com and get those $10 bleacher tickets.
For the Indians here in the second inning, Ryan Rayburn, Yan Gomes, and Chris Johnson due up. Rayburn currently 9th in the American League with a .324 batting average against lefties.
Three for 10 off Rayburn in his career.
And Malone gets ahead 1-2.
That's the pitch out there that is effective to right-handers when he can locate that changeup down and away, get him to pull off of it.
Rayburn lays off 2-2. Just away, full count. Yan Gomes waits on deck. Payoff pitch to Rayburn. Hit hard to third, but right there to gobble it up is Trevor Plouffe. 1 away. Injury report tonight brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk. Houston Street for the Angels. Done for the final week of the year. He could return, from what I understand, should the Angels make it into the postseason. Saves leader in the AL with 40. Not to mention they're still down Joe Smith as well, I believe.
Yeah, he's out with left ankle. I don't know if he's going to be ready by the end of the year. But I don't know if you saw Houston Street go down. It didn't look good. It did not look good. So if he's ready by the end of the year, if they get in, I'd be surprised.
Gomes breaks his bat but muscles it through the middle of the infield. Second hit of the night for the Indians and a 1-out base runner here in the second.
Well, it may cost you a bat, but you take it because it's a base hit. He went the fastball inside. He got enough of it to get it up the middle. They were playing Yan to pull in the hole over at shortstop, so he hits it up the middle. Indians' second hit.
Seven straight for Gomes. 9 out of 25. Here's Chris Johnson trying to snap it 0 for 10. And Malone so effective with that pitch away. Well, Johnson's made himself right at home here in Cleveland.
Boy, has he ever. 447. Well, he should be glad to be home then.
In off the plate, 2 balls and a strike.
I want to send out some birthday wishes. Happy birthday to Laverne Ebers, celebrating her birthday. Laverne, happy birthday. And also Pat DeBello. She is 90 years young today. She's a former Indians receptionist and a baker.
Happy birthday.
Used to bring in cookies and things like that. So, Pat, if you're watching, happy birthday to you.
The 2-1. And Johnson comes up empty to even the count. Johnson came to the Indians at the trading deadline. Tommy Milone came to the Twins last year at the trading deadline from Oakland for Sam Fuld. And Chris Johnson down on strikes. Third K for Milone. 2 down here in the inning. That'll bring up Abraham Almonte. Almonte just 2 for 18 on the completed road trip. In the dirt.
Here comes a changeup.
And then that's low, 2-0.
Yeah, good take. He's trying to play on the aggressiveness of a young hitter in a 1-0 count. So he says, I'll take something off of that pitch, but he was able to take it, and it was out of the strike zone. So a good hitter's count now. Well, that's what you wanted, that fastball.
Almonte watched it go by, though, and it's 2-1. Came right back with it again, and he took it again. 2-2.
Well, then I don't know if he's sitting on a changeup. I don't think they have enough, situations where they faced each other where you can sit on the changeup here. Especially when you take the 1-2-1, at least you got to look at his fastball. I was thinking, okay, he saw it, but he comes back with it and he takes 2 fastballs. That's the one you want to hit off Malone.
Especially Almonte.
Well,
and
I'll tell you what,
it in the left.
He had to be looking changeup because he hit a pretty good one right there, and that one was down. So I'm guessing he was sitting on a changeup all the way, and good for him to do that. Take it to 2 strikes and able to get a hit. Look at this pitch. Picked it up off the ground and really stayed back on it. So if he was trying to get after that fastball again, he would have swung over the top. So that tells me he was sitting on a changeup. Good job. So gets a 2-out single and pushes a runner into scoring position.
2 on and 2 out for Mike Aviles.
Well, that's what good hitters, if you're sitting on that one pitch and you'll take 2 after he throws it by you and you finally hit the one you're looking for, great job.
Would have been interesting had Malone fired a 3rd consecutive fastball.
Well, it would, but that's the chances you take. Yes, it would. Well, I mean, after we watched a guy like a Manny Ramirez for years, you'll see guys take calls 3rd, walk back and say, oh, boy, they got me. I was looking for something else. I think you see it a lot.
You wonder sometimes, how could he take that right down the middle of the plate? Well, he wasn't looking for it.
Right. I was looking for the different pitch, and I guessed wrong. Yeah, when you're hitting it, it looks easier than what it is when you get in that little white box.
That ball had a lot of run to it, missed off the plate, and all of a sudden it's 3-0 with Jason Kipnis waiting on deck. Minnesota jumped to a 3-0 lead in the first. Indians got a run back in the bottom half of the inning, but now threatening here in the second. .30 fastball is in there. Shoots it foul out of play to the right.
All right, they'll have a head start now out on the bases.
There go the runners. Strike 3 called. Aviles can't believe it. The inning is over. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left after 2. It's 3-1 Minnesota. When Nordonja faces off against the Bees. Jeff Phelps, Frank Stams, Ryan Cavanaugh bring you all the action Friday at 11 after Indians Live right here on Sports Time Ohio. Third inning. Minnesota leading at 3-1. And Joe Mauer to lead off for the Twins. Mauer doubled off the wall in left center field in that first inning with 2 outs, and it started a 3-run rally for Minnesota.
Sure did. Double dinger.
Over the outside corner, and it's quickly 0-2. Count stays 0-2. You know, Minnesota, you go back to that first inning, Trevor Plouffe had the big 2-run home run that highlighted the 3-run outburst. You look at their numbers this year, home and road. We've always talked about that Target Field's not exactly a launching pad. Yet they've hit 85 home runs at home this year, just 66 on the road.
Well, they like their home park. They play well there. They're a different team when you look at their record on the road and home. Minnesota 46 home wins. They will return home and finish 3-game series against Kansas City, but 34-43 on the road. Minnesota's done well in the Central Division, though. They're 37-32. And that's a big difference when you can play in your division. Like we talked about earlier in the pregame show, they have a young team. I mean, they're going to develop. They have a few veterans sprinkled in. Their big thing comes to pitching. You know, their starters. They had their issues. They signed Irvin Santana, to a 4-year deal. In the offseason, what happens? He gets an 80-game suspension for PEDs and Pelfrey and the guys. They needed their pitchers that they signed.
And the other thing people don't realize is that he served the 80-game suspension, but if they make the playoffs, he's not eligible to pitch in the postseason.
Well, his first 5 starts, he started out terrible, but his last 6 have been very, very good for him.
Third strikeout for Corey Kluber, 1 down here in the 3rd inning. Not an easy guy to strike out either.
No, it's not, but watch the movement on this pitch. That 2-seamer's coming into play now because that 4-seamer, they got on him that first time through the lineup, so now he's putting a little movement on it.
Now Miguel Sano. And a first pitch breaking ball drops in for a strike. Line drive to right. And a running catch by Rayburn. 2 away.
Boy, he's had 2 very good at bats. He hit that ball with authority.
Our great clip of the game. Back on May 13th, Corey Kluber with an 8-team strikeout performance against the St. Louis Cardinals, who began the night with 98 wins on the year. Don't know that we've seen a more dominating performance.
Only pitched 8 innings. Yep. They took him out, and he only had 103 or 4 pitches?
He was 113.
113 pitches.
A 10-pitch inning here in the 3rd as the Twins go 1-2-3, but they lead it 3-1. Time brought to you by Miller Lite. Let's go down to Andre Nato as more on Jason Kipnis, who will lead off here in the third for Cleveland.
You know, guys, we talked for a couple weeks about Jason Kipnis just struggling and not feeling right. He told me a couple nights ago, and finally in Kansas City, he goes, he finally has his rhythm back. He says it's all rhythm with him he's figuring out when he gets in that batter's box. If you remember a couple weeks ago against lefties, he was locking up and not seeing the ball well. He says he's got to go through every mechanism that has worked for him throughout the year to be successful. He finally has that feeling back. He goes, now I just hope I can have it and actually play more than one more week.
Well, he's hit in 5 straight games coming into tonight. Lifts this one on the infield, foul territory. Mauer makes the play. 1 pitch, 1 out. That'll bring up Francisco Lindor, who continues to make his case for American League Rookie of the Year honors. Picked up his 11th home run in the first inning. 117 hits since he got the call up on June the 14th. That's 5th in all of baseball.
I'll tell you what, he put a great swing on a fastball that stayed right there. He had 2 strikes on him. And there you go. That's the Indians' run.
Since the All-Star break, he's batted .358. That's tops in all of the American League.
You know, a lot of times when a young player gets called up for his first year at the major leagues, they sort of have a tendency to hit a wall or slow down. Lindor has not done that. He's, if anything, has picked it up. And that's been the most impressive thing for me to watch him, and it's been on both sides of the ball. He's improved. It seems like weekly.
They haven't been able to find his Achilles.
Not yet, they haven't.
Go to first, and Lindor is out by a whisper. 2 down.
Well, check out the final homestand of the season from the corner with $13 district tickets. It's presented by Sports Time Ohio, and tickets available only at Indians.com.
2 down for Michael Brantley. One hopper to Dozier, and the Indians go 1-2-3. It's an 8-pitch third for Tommy Malone. Minnesota leads it 3-1. back out for the Indians. That 18 strikeout performance that he had against St. Louis this year. I mean, that's pretty
a special,
small company.
Yeah, that's a very special night. We said it at that time. Tion did it in 10 innings. He had the 19, and of course Feller 18. And then I'll tell you what, not too far off was Carrasco back in Kansas City Friday night, where he had 15.
Rosario to deep left. Brantley looking up. It's off the scoreboard, and another double for Minnesota. Fourth double of the night for the Twins.
Well, this is birthday boy, Eddie Rosario. It's his birthday today, and he's going to hit one high off the wall, staying on the fastball the other way. Over the head of Brantley. So the Twins now 5 extra base hits, the 4 doubles, the homer.
Leadoff man in scoring position for Minnesota as Torrey Hunter steps in. Hunter doubled on a fastball his first time up. Take a look at Arcia in the driver's seat. Torrey Hunter against the Indians this year, and he's had a good career against Cleveland in general, but this year really troublesome for Cleveland.
We've watched him for years, put up some pretty good seasons against the Tribe.
Kluber taking advantage of his aggressiveness. That first time up, it was that fastball, it was away. This time back-to-back off-speed pitches, and Hunter is in the hole 0-2. That was a key spot early in this game for the Indians because Minnesota had first and second, nobody out. Hunter got picked off at second base.
That was a huge play. That really could turn a lot around.
Well, because they were trying to bunt them both over into scoring position, but before Escobar could do it, Hunter got thrown out and short-circuited the rally.
Right. Nothing may have come out of that inning to begin with, but anyway, it was a big out because the next pitch he popped up and he had 2 outs and a runner on first base. And he did walk Dozier, but got Hicks to strike out. So that, I think that was very big.
Time called by Hunter.
Well, with 2 strikes, I mean, you would like to try and hit that ball to the right side, but with 2 strikes, you just battle to try and put it in play. And I think Corey is trying to get him to swing at his breaking ball so he can't move that runner from second to third. Showing him high, the 0-2 pitch. That's the show fastball. He didn't want to throw it for a strike. That's to set up this pitch that's coming up right here, and I believe it'll be a breaking ball because he's going to try and get a strikeout here.
Now the 1-2. He did throw the breaking ball, but Hunter pops it in the shallow right near the line, foul territory. Rayburn makes the play, throw to third, and he is safe there.
Boy, that's really good hustle. I didn't think he was. I thought he was going to bluff and stop, but he challenged the arm of Ryan Rayburn. It was a little off the line, and he went all the way and got in there. That's a very good hustle. Look at it. It was just short. He was in foul territory. But you'll see the throw off line. If it's on line, he has him. Good hustle. Now Hunter feels like, hey, I did my job.
Got him over, right.
Got my, got the guy over. That was my job. That was just great hustle.
Now the Indians will bring the infield in for Chris Herman with a 1 out.
Oh, it hit him.
Got him on the foot.
It sounded like it hit the shin guard of Gomes, but it may be after the ricochet. But it got Herman on the foot. He'll take first base. Now first and third. just all foot. That hurt. Whew. All right, now Escobar is going to get a chance with one out, and it doesn't look like Ehrman's going to be going very fast anywhere. It looks like he's got a flat tire.
Eduardo Escobar stands in. He pops up on the infield his only time up. He goes wailing away at a ball down and in.
Well, Escobar likes the ball down. He's a good low ball hitter. You can get him out upstairs, but the thing of it is you don't want to give him something he can hit in the air and get that run in from third base. You already saw Rosario can run very well. Coming heater in.
One ball, one strike. Jeff Manship up in the Indians bullpen. This is only the 55th pitch of the night for Kluber.
You know, but Kluber, it seems like, you know, he gets to a certain point. They've been keeping an awfully close eye on him since coming off of the DL.
And it's 2-1. Since coming off the DL, Rick, he's only gone 4 and then 3 2/3 in his 2 starts.
Right. He's given up, what, 7 runs?
61 and 72 pitches, respectively. He's closing in on that territory. It's going to go foul right in front of the bag.
That was the right call.
Boy, Aviles was on it, and they had him at home plate, but it was a foul ball.
You know, and that was his play. I mean, the ball wasn't hit that hard, so he had to come home with it because off and running was Rosario on contact. And he did the right thing running inside the line, trying to take that throw away. Aviles made a nice play, gets it to Gomes. He would have been out, but it was a foul ball. And it was the right call. The ball went in front of the bag.
Meanwhile, it's a 2-ball, 2-strike count.
Yeah. Re-rack them, go backwards, unless we'll start it all over. He got inside on Escobar right there. He was deep into his kitchen. 2-seamer away.
Missed low with it. Full count. And the payoff pitch, the runner goes. It's ball 4. So the bases are loaded with only 1 out, and we go to the top of the order.
Well, he hit the 8th guy, and he walked number 9. So Mickey Callaway is going to come out and have a talk after the leadoff double. Hunter popped out to right field in foul territory. Rosario tagged up, and they have the bases loaded now with just 1 out. And you're flipping over to the top part of the lineup for the 3rd time here in only the 4th inning.
We're on the countdown to face-off for the NHL season in the Buckeye State. Columbus Blue Jackets take on the New York Rangers on opening night, and it's just 11 days away on the home of the Blue Jackets, Fox Sports Ohio. Meeting over. And Brian Dozier, the batter, is 0 for 1 with a walk. Minnesota, as a ball club, batting .333 with the bases loaded this year. And Dozier lays off ball one.
Kluber looking for a ground ball. 9 double plays Dozier has hit into.
Oh, man, good fastball upstairs.
With some movement.
Yeah.
With some movement. That wasn't a straight four-seamer. Look at Gomes sitting away, and that ball came inside. He just tipped it right into the glove of Gomes.
To center, Almonte chases back, makes the over-the-shoulder catch. Rosario will tag and score. Herman tags. He goes to third. It's 4-1 Minnesota as Dozier picks up RBI number 76.
Now, the one thing there, he didn't try and do too much with it. He stayed on the breaking ball, got it deep enough to hit it into center field and get another one on the board.
Aaron Hicks coming to the plate, 0 for 2 on the night. He's the subject of our Levin Furniture player profile, former first-round pick. Got his first hole-in-one as a golfer when he was 11 years old.
Wow. Not too shabby,
I'd say the Twins have done pretty good with their first-round picks lately.
Yeah.
7 of them on the roster.
First 3 runs for Minnesota came with 2 outs in the first inning. Kluber retired Dozier and Hicks, and then it was a double, and a home run. So very big for Corey to just keep it right where it is. A 4-1 ball game. Only 1 hit in the inning because he hit Herman with the pitch, and then he walked Escobar. Those are the 2 guys that are on the base now.
Breaking ball missed outside. 2-1. After the foul ball, the count is 2-2 for Hicks. Minnesota increasing their lead to 4-1. He got a piece of it, lost the bat in the process.
Well, he went. It was a late swing on a backdoor slider, and he finally got a piece of it, but he rolled over the top. It came straight up. Almost looked like he hit it twice, or it hit him. Watch this ball away. It goes down, and that's what it did. It comes back up and hit him in the hand. He was trying to reach it. But that's the key as a hitter. You get a piece of it to stay alive. That was a good pitch by Kluber.
just missed inside, and Kluber, who rarely, if ever, shows emotion.
You never see him do that, so he felt he had a strike. Let's take a look. Look at it on our Fox pitch track. That's pretty darn good, and Gomes brought it in, and Kluber, look at him. You never see him do that.
Hicks is 0 for 2 tonight. He's only batted .218 on the road this year, so most of his success has been at home. Runner will be off at first. The 3-2 swing and a miss. He struck him out. Hicks is 0 for 3. Twins do tack on a run. Middle of the fourth. They lead it 4-1. Time now to tweet your strongest fan photo to us using the hashtag STODataStrongFan for a chance to have one of your photos shown during an upcoming telecast. It's all courtesy of T-Mobile. For the Indians here in the fourth, it'll be Carlos Santana, Ryan Rayburn, and Yan Gomes.
Well, the Indians were able to answer in the first inning after Minnesota got on the board. See if they can do something here in the fourth. Second time through now.
Pulls it foul, third base side. Just above the belt. And it's 1-1. To right field. Routine for Torrey Hunter. One away.
Well, be here for the Tribe's annual Fan Appreciation Night Saturday against the Red Sox. The evening will feature Sugardale Dollar Dogs, fireworks, giveaways as the Indians want to thank their fans for the support this year. Visit Indians.com for your tickets. Saturday night, the Red Sox Fan Appreciation Night.
Tommy Malone with a curveball in for a strike. One on one to count. Rayburn grounded to third base. His only time up. Ryan has picked up a hit in 4 straight games. But understand his 4 straight games, that's spread out because
it
doesn't
play.
What,
2 weeks?
Unless there's a lefty on the bump.
Sometimes a lefty on the bump. It happened to be against the White Sox.
Yeah, you got, 3 in a row in
Yep.
that series.
Yep.
Skies this one to center field. Aaron Hicks takes care of that. 2 down, and Tommy Malone is now set down 6 in a row. And to bring up Yan Gomes, who singled with 1 out in the 2nd inning. That extended his hitting streak to 7 straight. You know, you look at Yan Gomes' splits this year, lefties versus righties. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was hurt and missed some time. But most of his at-bats this year have been against the right-handers. And against lefties, just 18 for, make that 19 for 96 on the year. Your Northern Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. (4-1) Minnesota. We're in the 5th inning. Corey Kluber back out here. Gave up 3 in the 1st and 1 in the 4th.
Well, he has had 1, 2, 3 inning. That came in the 3rd. But the Twins have threatened every inning.
Joe Mauer doubled off the wall in left center in the first, struck out in the third.
This is how Minnesota's attacked Kluber tonight. On the first pitch put in play, not including this one that was just there, they're 3 for 4 with a hit batter. After an 0-1 count, they're 0 for 10 with a walk, and after a 1-0 count, they're 2 for 2. So they've been aggressive, and if he doesn't throw a strike, then they're also good. But when he throws the strike, he gets ahead. They're 0 for 10, and here goes a base hit here on the 0-1 pitch.
Well, let's get a look at our in-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. It happened quickly in the first with 2 outs, bases were empty. Mauer doubled, Sano doubled him home, and then Trevor Plouffe hit a 2-run shot. Bottom of the first, Francisco Lindor's 11th home run of the season got the Indians on the board, but that's all they've been able to muster so far tonight. Minnesota got a sacrifice fly from Brian Dozier in the fourth to extend the lead by a run. And now Miguel Sano, who doubled in a run in that first we just showed you, and then he hit a line drive to Rayburn and right his last time up.
That's what a pretty good thought process there. Try and tie him up. But the first time up, if you don't get it in there, you can see how quick he is inside. This young man shows a lot of power, and the ball jumps off his bat.
It's low in the count 2-0. Nice pitch. Sano 2-1. Thought he was getting a straight fastball, and that ball rippled just enough to take him off of it. Painted the outside corner, and it's 2-2.
That was just flat out a good pitch. Sano thought he was on it. He couldn't hit it, so he took it, and it was called a strike. Slider away. Maybe a little bit off the dish, but it was called.
Went back to it in the dirt, but no advance by Mauer. To right field, routine. Rayburn makes the catch, 1 down. Back to first goes Mauer.
Shows you the confidence that Molitor has in this young Sano, that he starts his runner 3-2, figuring he's going to put it in play, which he did.
So 1 on, 1 out. Trevor Plouffe coming up. Plouffe got a high cutter that was out over the plate, and he swatted it into the bleachers in the first inning.
Yes, he did.
22 homers, 84 driven in now on the year.
No, and he's always hit Corey Kluber well. When Kluber makes his pitches, he doesn't. But he made a mistake, and Plouffe jumped on it.
He'll step away. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a case where Kluber missed his location by a lot, but Plouffe did not offer. And Gomes was set up. He wanted that away, and that ball came back right out over the plate.
It looked like a pretty good pitch to me.
Yeah. And now Plouffe is in the hole, 1-2.
A good slider from Kluber. Look at the spin, the rotation, and you can see how it's going down and away. You really, if you're going to hit that pitch, if he locates it, you're not going to hit it. But even if he keeps it up a little bit, you have to stay back. Not an easy pitch to wait on to hit.
And a foul right back by Plouffe.
You see, and then he follows up with a high fastball, and you barely catch up to it.
Now we're held by Santana at first.
Yes.
The appeal.
Yes. You know what? They shouldn't even have had to appeal. It was a strike, wasn't it?
Well, that was my initial thinking was, what was wrong with the pitch?
Well, I mean, if you throw one upstairs, you don't get it called earlier in the at-bat, and there's a breaking ball. What's wrong with that pitch? That's 2 strikes and 1. He didn't call it, but they asked for it.
1 pitch, 2
Should
strikes.
have been a strike.
2 down. And Eddie Rosario, the batter. Rosario doubled off the wall and left in the 4th. Three of the 4 Minnesota doubles tonight have been off the left field wall. Chases down and in.
Well, the one thing for Rosario, who's a young player, a rookie, having an outstanding year, he is aggressive, and he will chase pitches down and out of the zone. He'll swing at them upstairs. We showed you in Minnesota. He hit one into their right field porch that was up around his neck on an 0-2 pitch from Josh Tomlin.
Right back to the screen.
Boy, he'd like to have that one back.
I don't think he's going to get another crack at it.
Not that good. But then again, we say he's a bad ball hitter, so who knows? You know?
Don't throw it up around his neck.
Don't throw him a ball. Maybe that's how you get him out. Throw it down the middle.
The 0-2. Just reached out.
Look at that.
Punched
Bad
it
ball
to left.
hitter.
And a base hit.
I tell you.
Mauer stops at second.
That did not look to be a strike to me.
It looked like he just reached out and tried to spoil it and got
And
good wood on it.
He did just that. He just flared it into left field. Watch this with 2 strikes. We're going to show you the pitch. That's a foot outside. That's at least a foot outside. And watch the side swing. You talk about just making an adjustment right there. That's a great piece of hitting. Wow. He's a bad ball hitter. He missed his one pitch he had down the middle of the plate, and he hits that one. Go figure.
Well, it's Torrey Hunter, who doubled his first time up and then fouled out. But it was a key at bat for Hunter. When he fouled out in the 4th, he moved Rosario, the runner at second base, over to third, and he would eventually come home on a sacrifice fly. Jeff Manship up again for the Tribe as Kluber is about to make his 85th pitch of the night. Right to Jason Kipnis. He'll go to first. That'll end the inning. Halfway through, it's Minnesota 4, Cleveland 1. Indians ball game tonight.
How about that? And he made a sign for it. He's ready to go.
So far, though, the Indians have only been able to provide him 1 run. But still a long way to go. We're in the bottom of the 5th. Chris Johnson, Abraham Almonte, and Mike Aviles due up. Tommy Malone came out tonight and in the first inning gave up the home run to Francisco Lindor and then gave up 2 hits in the second inning. Since then, he's only needed 18 pitches to retire the last 6 batters in a row.
Well, he's settled in with his control. He's found both sides of the plate. He's changing speeds very well. And the times that the Indians have been aggressive early, they've popped him up. And this is his style. I mean, this is exactly the way he pitches. He did that earlier in the year against the Indians back on August 16th. 5 innings, 3 hits. And that was his return. He only threw 76 pitches in that game and threw 44 strikes.
Different guy, different lineup. Almost feels like a hangover effect from yesterday for the Indians.
Yeah, right-hander, the big
Chris Young.
Chris Young, right. They didn't have a hit for 5 innings. But they had, they have 20 hits in the first 2 games of that series. They only a couple yesterday.
Got in on him, and Johnson is retired 1 away. Let's get on to Andre Knott, who has more on Abraham Almonte, who's coming up.
You know, it was interesting watching that last at bat and hearing you guys see Abraham take fastballs. You know, earlier in the year when he first got here, he didn't want to do a post-game interview with me because he didn't want to talk about all he hit was fastballs. But he told me over the last week or so he's getting more comfortable when he's starting to look for off-speed pitches, and he's understanding it. And Terry Francona is enjoying watching him right now because he goes, suddenly he's not swinging at every ball that's coming up there spinning. He's getting more disciplined at the plate, and it's been fun to watch him mature, you know, against different pitches right now.
And that's exactly right, Andre. It surprised me because I know he's a fastball hitter, and rightfully so. So a lot of times when you get those, you figure a fastball hitter to get after him. But that showed me when he hit that changeup off the ground that he was sitting on that changeup right from the very first pitch, and when he finally got it back again, he hit it.
Arch, don't forget, he played Double-A and Triple-A this year. This is all kind of coming to him fast right now, but he is growing up right in front of our own eyes.
Yes, he is. I mean, and that's the name of the game. What do we say all the time? It's a game of adjustments.
Yep.
And you have to make them, and you know what? Good for him. I mean, he has an opportunity here. The switch hitter playing center field, getting that opportunity, and it takes a while to mature once you get to the big league level, and he knows that he's given a great opportunity here, and he wants to run with it. Yeah, a lot of young hitters, when you say, hey, sit and look for that changeup, they can't do it. You know what, they can say, I'm going to look for it, but you can look for it and stay back and hit it is a different thing. And the things about the major league pitchers up here, their changeups are pretty good compared to down in the minor leagues. They can command it much better and throw it at will sometimes.
Almonte shoots it to left where Rosario will make the catch. You know, the thing about a good changeup is that a lot of times it's not a strike. So you could be sitting on it, and it's still tough to hit because it's going to end up down around your ankles.
When they get ahead of you, they're not going to throw you one for a strike. But if they get you 2-0 or something in a fastball count, they can still throw it for a strike when they want to.
Mike Aviles was called out on strikes his first time up, and he was not happy about it. Left 2 men on base at the time.
He had a 3-0 count, and they came
right.
right back, and they got him 3 straight. And he took the call third, probably too close to take.
To center field, Aaron Hicks gliding back. makes the catch. 10 in a row set down by Tommy Malone. 4-1 Minnesota. The Nationals, Bryce Harper was accosted by Jonathan Papelbon after he flied out, and then Papelbon went after him. They had to be separated by teammates and coaches.
Well, I'll tell you what, he was talking to him about not running out a fly ball, but I mean, how do you call out a guy like that? He's in the game, he's a pitcher, but he did, and they got after it. Those things happen. But not anymore. They used to a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of makes you feel at home back in the old days, right?
Right, that's a long time ago.
Just that now everything is seen.
Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, if you have a beef with a guy, you got to be discreet enough to go say something when you're not on camera.
Corey Kluber, a first pitch strike to Chris Herman, who walked in the second, was hit by a pitch in the fourth.
Yeah, there's different ways of calling a guy out. Not right out in front of him or in front of everybody. There's a way to do it.
Swing and a miss by Chris Herman. Just one, 2-3 inning for Kluber tonight. That came in the third. So he's had to deal with a lot of traffic tonight. At least 2 base runners in all but the 1 inning.
Yeah, and out of the 7 hits that Minnesota has, 5 of them are extra bases, the 4 doubles and the home run.
And what's important on that note is that Minnesota had 12 hits in 98 at-bats coming into tonight. And they have 7 tonight with the extra base pop. Let's go on to Andre, who has some more to add on the fracas in Washington
yes,
yesterday.
That was pretty fun to watch. You know, two things. That some people think that started earlier in the week when the young player kind of popped off about Papelbon hitting Machado, if you remember, and he popped
Right.
off. Bryce Harper popped off and said,
Right.
I'm going to have to wear one, and he was buddying up with Machado the next day. The other thing, Terry Francona said, he goes, you know what, we've had some situations where Brantley's had to go to Lindor this year, and we've got a lot of young players. He goes, I always tell our guys, it's your locker room to police, but don't forget, you don't want to make these guys feel like outcast. And he goes, in that situation, he goes, it looked like Bryce Harper may have been outcast, and that's why that situation got so bad.
Yeah. Well, it's just been ever since Papelbon's been over to the Phillies, it hasn't gone too well.
Nationals, yeah, when he went over from the Phillies.
Yeah, from the Phillies to the Nationals. That's right. That was a little bit day or two before the trading deadline, end of July. Hey, look, you're not there. You see it on camera and you say, okay, there's two guys getting after it. I mean, hey, it's a long year, and you have some issues, and you've got to settle it in-house. But I would agree with that. I can see where it happened earlier because Papelbon drilled Machado, and he called I forget the words he used when he came out in the paper the next day, Machado.
Well, he got a 3-game suspension for that. And now the Nationals have said that you're going to get suspended for 4 games for
see
this.
You later.
So.
You're done for the year.
Yeah.
But I can believe that was that happened earlier in the week.
Fouled off by Escobar, who walked in the 4th, popped up on the infield his first time up. Swing and a miss. Strikes him out. That's number 6. And for Corey Kluber, that is now 700 career strikeouts. The 25th pitcher in Tribe history to reach that number.
This is going to be our Circle K strikeout. Number 700 for Corey Kluber on an excellent pitch down and away. On the full count.
You know, everything we talked about at the outset of our telecast tonight with regards to Corey Kluber has kind of come to fruition. You know, the home run ball has been a problem for him at times. Tonight it got him in the first inning. You mentioned that a year ago, whenever he needed to make a pitch to get an out, he did. And this year, it just seems like they get the hit.
Yeah.
And they take advantage. And it's not like they're beating him up tonight.
No, you know what? It's just one hit sometimes with Kluber. He doesn't give up a whole lot, but.
And no run support once again.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, you look at it coming into the day game with nobody on. Hitters are hitting 205. But with runners on, it's 287. You know, it wasn't like that last year. And it seems like anytime he's got to get that one big out, they've been able to get him this year. And, you know, you can't. The year he had last year may never see it again. That was almost a perfect year. I mean, he went out and he pitched. Boy, it was unbelievable. And things went his way. It doesn't happen like that. Every year is different.
Good pitch.
You go ask any of the hitters around, they're going to say, hey, Kluber's got some of the best stuff I've seen in the league. There's no question about it. He makes his pitches. I'm not going to get a hit. He's still throwing strikes, 65%.
They're not racing to the bat rack.
No, he's not a comfortable guy to face because he can put you away with so many different pitches. But he's made more mistakes, I would say, this year. Or the hitters have hit the mistakes that he made compared to last year. They didn't.
Yeah.
However you want to look at it, or however you want to put it. To me, he's been pretty much the same. He goes down there. He gives you everything he's got. He pounds the strike zone. But since coming off the DL, this is the longest he's gone. He's up over the 100 pitch mark. He had 61 pitches in his first start, just 72 in his last start. He's up to 101 now. This will be 102.
Dozier rolls it to short, and Lindor throws him out. Second 1-2-3 inning of the night for Corey Kluber. Middle of the sixth, it remains 4-1 Minnesota.
Fans can enjoy fireworks this Friday here at Progressive Field as the Indians will take on the Red Sox. The fireworks will follow a sing-along theme and are presented by Wayside Furniture. Gary, I want to see you out there singing along with the fireworks on Friday. Can you stay for it? Would you please?
10 straight set down by Tommy Milone as we go to the bottom of the sixth, and Jason Kipnis will lead it off. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Last Indians hitter to reach was Abraham Almonte with a 2-out single in the second. This is a 4-game series between the Indians and Twins. And Boston will come in for the weekend.
Well, he has been, look at, retired the last 10, under control. First time through the lineup, it took him 42 pitches. Second time, just 30.
Deep center. Back is Hicks. He's out of room, and he can't make the play. Kipnis flying around second. On his way to third, he'll be held there with a leadoff triple.
Boy, Minnesota had their heads down. Kipnis was around in third base, and he slipped, and they didn't pick it up. If they had the ball, Sarbaugh was holding them up.
But he had his head down.
Oh, he was going
bear.
all the way and ended up stopping and slipping, and they had the ball in, and they just didn't pick it up. Boy, he didn't pick him up until late. Okay, Hicks goes down. Now watch Kipnis going around third. He hits it, and he's coming in. Look at it. He almost hit Sarbaugh. He stopped. Nobody was at third. You see, Plouffe was off the bag, and their relay guy just had the ball in his hand. Well, they start off with a triple. There you go. Kipnis trying to fire up that team. Let's go.
Francisco Lindor homered in the first, grounded out his last time up. And he takes ball one. Ground ball to short. Kipnis coming home. He will score. Lindor has driven in both for the Indians tonight. They cut the lead in half at 4-2.
It's a great thing about leadoff triples, boy. Everybody back, and you got a chance to get it. You get an easy RBI there. But the disappointing thing is that now it clears the bases. You got to start over again. But they get another run in the first two batters. It's 4-2 game now.
And just now, get a Minnesota reliever up. Looks like right-hander Blaine Boyer. Michael Brantley is 0 for 2. He has struck out, grounded out as Boyer starts to heat up for the Twins. You see Zach McAllister getting ready to come in for Cleveland. Would indicate Corey Kluber's night is over after 6 innings. 0-2 the count on Michael Brantley. Breaking ball to foul back. .52 out of 80 for strikes for Tommy Milone.
Yeah, 10-0-2, 1-2 counts for him as well. Trying to get Michael to chase that, but that's something he doesn't do very much of.
No, he got him in the first inning with it. He got ahead of him and then threw that slow curveball.
Then you better feel lucky because he shouldn't do it twice in a game. Michael, very disciplined.
Milone has struck out 4 as Brantley bats away a few pesky bugs. But the Twins are not a big strikeout team. Center fielder Aaron Hicks runs it down 2 away. Time now for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski.
Hey, Matt, Rick, Baltimore and Toronto. The Orioles trying to put a cramp in Toronto's style. 3-run homer here by Ryan Flaherty. Bottom of the second gave the O's a 3-1 lead. Jays have come back with 2 in the 8th, so they're even 3-3. Bottom of the 8th inning now in Baltimore, fellas.
All right, thanks, Al. That's going to be it for Tommy Milone.
Yeah.
He goes 5 2/3 innings. He only gave up 4 hits, and he's only at 82 pitches on the night.
Well, you know what happened? He was making the spot start because Hughes was ill, and he had some shoulder issues.
Yeah.
So give me 5. He pitched as well as he could. It was like Hughes' start last week in Minnesota against the Indians, 5 innings.
Yeah, he didn't walk anybody. Struck out 4. And it's time for the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen as right-hander Blaine Boyer is coming on when we come back. Jason Kipnis started the inning with a triple. Came around to score, cutting the Minnesota lead in half at 4-2. Blaine Boyer now on for the 66th time this year. He's got a tough act to follow because Tommy Malone faced 21 batters tonight, 16 first pitch strikes.
Yeah, that's the one thing he did very well.
Carlos Santana looks at strike one. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Santana grounded to short in the first, fly to right in the fourth inning. Now the 1-1. Missed inside. Nice stab by Herman. That almost went to the backstop. The 2-1. And a bouncer foul, first base side. Two down, base is empty. And a 2-ball, 2-strike count for Santana. Dozier from the outfield grass throws him out. Jason Kipnis tries to spark the Indians. He leads off the inning with a triple. And the Indians get a run closer. It's now 4-2. Is brought to you by Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT CLE U-verse, has more channels on the go than cable. 7th inning, and the Indians go to the bullpen. Corey Kluber went 6 tonight. Now Zach McAllister coming on for the Tribe, making his 59th appearance on the year.
Well, his job right now and the rest of that bullpen is to put zeros on the board in hopes that the Indians' offense is going to be able to do something late in the ball game. Only a 2-run difference. McAllister's going to get Hicks, Mauer, and Sano, the scheduled hitters.
And Aaron Hicks looks at a fastball up high. Ball 1. Hicks struck out each of his last 2 trips. Bunts it in the air. It drops foul.
Yeah, Hicks has had a tough night off Kluber tonight, so he's doing anything to try and get on base.
Oh, man, he got in on him and broke his bat. 1 away. Corey Kluber reaching the 700 career strikeout plateau tonight. In addition to his 500th in his last 2 seasons.
Yeah, right. And you can see cutters there. That was the last time to Hicks. There it was. That was number 700 right there for Kluber. 6 on the night. He walked 3, gave up 7 hits, 4 runs, and they got him again for a big inning in that first inning. It was a 4-run 4th inning in his last start in Minnesota that got to Corey. But he ended up going 6 innings tonight and hung in there and threw over 100 pitches. Unfortunately, he's only going to get 1 more start.
Joe Mauer is 2 for 3. He has singled, doubled, and scored a run. Up high, 2-1. Missed inside. 3 balls and a strike. Bullseye, full count. Ran it up high and strikes him out. 2 away.
Yesterday in Kansas City, Mickey Callaway came to the mound. He wanted to talk to Ryan Webb, and all of a sudden, out of right field comes Zach McAllister. He was up warming up, and he thought that they called him in. Well, that was Mickey Callaway. And then Chisenhall was yelling at him, and McAllister, he thought they called for him and ended up having to go back out. The umpire said, Dana DeMuth said, no, they didn't call for you. That had to be a little of an embarrassing trot.
Andre, you talked to McAllister today about that?
Actually, I did it yesterday. I don't know if that was the smartest move of my career, but I've been known to, do some tricky things.
Timing. It's all about timing.
Well, that's what he said. He goes, the gate opens up, and he goes, you get in that mindset, man. And he goes, I didn't know the difference of who it was. And he goes, and I got out there, and Lonnie started laughing at me, and I go, uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird feeling. And I can understand him, where he's coming from, man. He's expecting to come in. He sees somebody out of the dugout, and he says, all right, here I go. That's embarrassing. We've seen that a couple times. Andre's got to pick his time a little bit better.
1-1. Swing and a miss. Sano couldn't hold up.
Oh, beautiful. You don't have to wait to ask me anything, Andre. You can ask me anytime you want.
The 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. McAllister strikes him out. 4-2 Minnesota. We've reached the 7th inning stretch. Brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. It's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio with Al and Jensen. They'll have the highlights and the analysis as the Indians try to battle from behind. They trail 4-2 going into the bottom of the 7th inning. And Casey Fiend is coming on now for Minnesota. He'll be facing the 5, 6, and 7 hitters for the Indians. But Lonnie Chisenhall is going to pinch hit for Ryan Rayburn to start. And the pitch is high, ball 1. Fiend evens the count. with a fastball at 94 miles an hour, 1-1. And a ground ball to first, scooped up by Maurer. 1 down. Fox Sports 1 will continue to be your home for postseason action with the American League Division and Championship Series. Don't miss a moment of the drama. It all begins October 8th on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
Yeah, the last week of the regular season playing out. No drama in the National League as far as the wild card goes, but there certainly is in the American League.
Well, the only drama left in the National League, Rick, is can Pittsburgh catch St. Louis? I mean, St. Louis has almost won 100 games, and they haven't clinched the division yet.
Yeah, that's amazing. You look out, it's 0-0, and they're in the 7th inning in Pittsburgh.
Gomes cuts and misses. And it's 0-2. It's in the seats as Gomes stays alive. Well, there's really nothing to spoil for Boston, but anytime they can beat New York, that'll at least make the Red Sox faithful happy. They're winning 4-1 tonight.
No question.
I don't even think New York could lose. I don't know. Have they clinched the top wild card, the home field?
No, but they're awfully close.
Yeah.
I mean,
they got a 4-game, five in the loss column. They're up, right?
Yeah, they're pretty much a lock.
A little bit low, full count. I'm told the Yankees' magic number is 3 to clinch home field. Line drive and a base hit left field. So the tying run will come to the plate. And Gomes has his second hit of the ball game.
Well, he was down in the count 0-2, and he works it back to get a 3-2 pitch and line a base hit into left center field. So a nice job to stay alive in that at-bat by Gomes. That's the 5th hit for the Indians. And as you say, it brings the tying run to the plate.
Chris Johnson, 0 for 2 on the night, takes a strike. Threw it by him, 0-2. Neil Kotz, the left-hander for Minnesota. You see Brian Shaw at the bottom of your screen warming up for Cleveland. And the 0-2. Johnson down on strikes. 2 down. I'll bring up Abraham Almonte. He singled back in the second inning. Swung on and missed. Keeping a close eye on Gomes at first, though chances are he's not going anywhere. He hasn't attempted a stolen base. No balls, 2 strikes on Almonte.
Another guy down 0-2 here.
Ground ball to short, and that'll do it. 7 in the books. Minnesota 4, Cleveland 2. and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians.
Twins lead at 4-2 here, top of the 8th. McAllister back out on the mound for the Indians. Lonnie Chisenhall remains in the game in right field. He pinch hit for Ryan Rayburn. So for McAllister, it's going to be Plouffe, Rosario, and Hunter. The hitters due up. The Twins 4 runs on 7 hits. The Indians 2 runs on 5 hits.
Trevor Plouffe hit the big 2-run homer in the first. You go back to the way this game started. Brian Drozier grounded out. Hicks tapped one back to the mound. 2 quick outs. Kluber looked like, okay, here we go. And then Joe Mauer bashed one off the wall and left. Miguel Sano did the same thing, driving Mauer home, and then Plouffe hit a 2-run homer. And just like that,
yeah,
it was 3-0 Minnesota.
Very similar to his last start against them in Minnesota, where it was a 4-run fourth.
That one backed up on him.
Yeah, I had to get out of the way of the breaking ball.
Swung on and missed. He struck him out. That's 3 straight Ks for McAllister. 1 down here in the 8th. Let's go back to that first inning. It's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Is it just a matter of location here?
Well, I think so. Yeah, I mean, they hit a fastball. Was that pretty much up? There's another fastball. He had it middle in. He pulled his hands in, did a nice job. He hung the cutter here to Plouffe and hit it to left center, who's had success against him. And it was, next thing you know, it was 3 straight, and it was double home run, 3 runs on the board in a hurry. It was the 6th home run given up in the first inning by Kluber this year.
Well, that's going to be it for Zach McAllister. He goes an
Good
inning
job.
in the 3rd. Perfect relief, strikes out 3 in a row.
Good job.
And indeed that is Cody Allen, who's coming on here in the 8th inning with the Tribe down 4-2. Twins on top. We're in the 8th. And with one out, Cody Allen coming into the ballgame for the Tribe. Normally you only see Cody in save situations, but...
Well, he hasn't been getting a whole lot of work, so I think that's what Tito said. Let's go. It's time for him. He's got to go, and we got to keep it a 2-run ball game if we want a chance here. McAllister did a tremendous job in his inning and a third.
Yeah, he hasn't pitched in 3 straight days. He last pitched on the 24th in Minnesota.
Uh-huh.
Eddie Rosario, 2 hits on the night, a single, a double, and a run scored.
Yeah, that's single. How about his last at-bat we were talking about with Kluber? He had a good pitch to hit. He fouled off. Looked like it might have been a cutter, and then he ends up getting a great hit.
Just slapped it
on
off the plate.
Two-seam fastball. It had to be almost a foot off the plate. Made an adjustment in his swing to put it in play.
You know, you've said before, now granted, when you cut the plate in half and you're looking in, it might be a different story, but you always say hitters forget how much plate coverage, how much you can get to.
Absolutely. When you really want to hit a pitch and you just look for the baseball and you forget about home plate sometimes, let's say when you get to 2 strikes, look at this guy pull his hands in.
His third hit of the night.
He's going to be a good hitter.
He's going to be a tough hitter to face for a pitcher because you don't know where to throw it.
Well, you can throw it anywhere, and he can get the barrel of the bat to it. If we watch this one inside. Look, we can show you where he hit that ball in off the plate compared to his last at-bat, and that's definitely more than 17 inches of home plate.
No doubt.
You're talking about probably 24 inches, if not more, between those 2 base hits in his last 2 at-bats. So he has 3 hits on his birthday tonight. Eight hits for the Twins. Watch this. The last 2 at-bats. Here's the one outside. That's well off the plate. And here's his last base hit that is inside. Now, you talk about plate coverage. What do you do with a guy like that?
Like you said, throw it down the middle and hope he pops it up.
He fouled it off down the middle. They better think about starting to just throw it there.
Torrey Hunter, 1 for 3 on the night. Well, I wonder what Torrey Hunter will do next year.
My personal feeling, I think he'll come back and play with the Twins one more year. He likes the situation there. They've got some young players. Molitor's the manager, and he's the leader as far as the players go. He sets the tempo. He has a nice little party after every win.
Well, he's hit 22 home runs.
Yeah, well, he's still
productive.
But he could come back in a lesser role, not every day, because they have some good young outfielders. But, they've got some guys that can give him a break, and he should have maybe 250 at-bats, possibly 300 tops. He doesn't have to play every day. That's my guess, because they've come a long way. Nobody expected the Twins to be where they're at this year. At this point in time, into the last week of the season, having an opportunity to make the playoffs. So I think he's going to get the taste. If they don't make it, even if they do, to come back and let's go. We can do it one more time.
Runner goes, and Hunter fouls it out of play.
Well, good count to run on a 2-1 count. You have a 2-run lead. You want to manufacture something with 1 out. Start your runner. But Torrey Hunter liked that pitch, and he fouled it off.
You can draw some similarities between the Indians and Twins when you look at the composition of at least the everyday players. A lot of young guys.
Yeah.
And so, Joe Mauer's a veteran, but he's that low-key presence, whereas Torrey Hunter's a more vocal, energetic type leader. I think if they can get on some kind of agreement, it'd be great to have him come back for that ball club. He'll strike out here 2 down. Because that's the one thing that I know that I've learned over the years. When it comes to a roster, when it comes to a clubhouse, it's easy to say we're going youth movement, we're going with the young guys. You still have to have some veterans to
steer the ship.
When things get rocky during a season.
Which they do.
When things happen, you need those guys to say, hey, everything's going to be all right. Here's how we're going to get through it. And at the same time, you need those veterans to say, hey, here's the right way. Here's what we don't want to do.
Well, the great thing in that situation with Torrey Hunter, he was an original Twin and very successful. Before, he left, he played with the Angels, he went to the Tigers, and he was, he's at the end of his rope, and he comes back to Minnesota. And, that's, I think, the perfect circle for him. That's where he's going to end his career. He could do whatever he wants. He's made enough money. Does he want to stay in front office? Does he want to stay in baseball when he's through with it? The question is, when exactly is he going to be through?
Well, that's the other thing, is what's he thinking? What's he feeling?
Right. And he's a great guy, great personality. Everybody in baseball loves the guy.
I mean, physically, he still looks like he keeps himself in outstanding shape.
He certainly does. For me, I hope he comes back because he's good for the game of baseball. He's a great player for a long time, and I'll tell you what, he's borderline Hall of Fame. He's right there. You look at his numbers all the way through it, and he's very similar to a lot of other guys they're right on the cusp. Who knows if he's going to get in or he's not.
Eduardo Nunez pinch hitting here. Cuts and misses. Let's go down to Andre.
I got two things for you on Torrey Hunter. One thing he told me a couple months ago when we were back in Minnesota, he says whether he comes back or not next year, it's not going to be about the physical. It's mental for him now, what he goes through now that he's turned 40. The other thing is, I can remember being in Detroit before they traded everyone away. I had multiple guys around that team tell me they weren't the same coming out of spring training when they didn't have Torrey Hunter to help lead that ball club.
I believe it.
Fly ball center field. Almonte's there. He's a unifying force, and I think that's the best thing you can say about Torrey Hunter. Cody Allen keeps him off the board. Bottom of the 8th coming up. Drive down 4-2.
It's going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. Zach McAllister came in for Corey Kluber, went an inning in the third and was just lights out tonight. 3 punch-outs out of the 4 hitters he faced. Good breaking ball right there to Sano, and then rides that fastball into Plouffe. So, Zach, nice job tonight, baby. That's our McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Well, we head now to the bottom of the 8th. And Glenn Perkins coming on now from Minnesota. Mike Aviles leading it off 0 for 2. New catcher. And it's Kurt Suzuki.
Oh, you thought you had the day off.
Up the middle, and it's through. Mike Aviles with a leadoff single, and the Indians will bring the tying run to the plate now here in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, there's a pitch right there. I think he tried to cut that inside. It just didn't get in enough. And Avila's got enough of it to hit it into center field. So there's your leadoff man aboard. Like to see that late in the ball game. That coming on an 0-2 pitch to Aviles.
And Jason Kipnis takes a strike. He tripled and scored in the 6th.
Jason back in the 6th inning. Got it started with a triple. Hicks went back to the wall. Couldn't get there. Kipnis hustling all the way. He was thinking 4. Ended up slipping and going down, but he was trying to get, let's go, guys. Come on. Time is running out. He ended up scoring.
Oh, he's not happy about this one. He's called out on strikes. 1 away. He thought it was high and wide. One, if not both.
Oh,
it looked like it was off the plate.
Well, did you see where Suzuki brought it back in? Well, and I'll tell you, as a hitter, you hate that, man, because it's late in the ball game.
Yeah.
You don't get another opportunity sometimes.
Francisco Lindor. He's driven in both Indians' runs tonight. 49 RBIs on the year. Chops it foul. Clint Perkins has thrown 8 pitches. All 8 have been strikes.
There's
at least,
that cutter.
At least in the eyes of the umpire. 9 for 9. As he strikes out back-to-back hitters now. 2 away.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. This has had some good tilt to it. Look at that breaking ball going down and swinging over the top of a good pitch. He gets Lindor to go down. So back-to-back strikeouts. 2 outs in the inning. And Michael Brantley.
In some ways, the way Perkins is working himself back into shape, it's a blessing in disguise because it gives him a closer in the setup role.
Yeah. Well, he had a rough outing in Detroit over the weekend. Coming in there. He's still setting it up, but Jepson's done a nice job in the closer's role, so Paul Molitor keeping it the way it is.
Bauer will make the play, and that will end the inning. We'll head to the 9th. It remains 4-2 Minnesota.
Indians too, and well, Jensen today, Corey Kluber, rough first inning, and well, this is still a big one for the Indians. They're within 2, but they're down to their last at bat.
Almost got to treat this as an elimination game now. I know, Rick, we talked about it in the pregame show. You got to win them all, and they got to find a way to tie it up here.
All right, after the game tonight, join us for Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Right now, back upstairs for the call of the 9th inning. Here are Matt and Rick. Fellas?
Thanks, Al. And for the Indians to have any hopes of pulling this one out, they'll need a clean inning from Brian Shaw here. Try to get him back in the dugout and get the bats fired up. For Brian Shaw, he'll go to work against Eduardo Escobar, Brian Dozier, and Aaron Hicks. Shaw's 72nd appearance on the year.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, he was right around 80 last year, so it's no surprise. He's back out here again. This is a guy that, you know, the Twins used to have, who is their bullpen coach now, a guy they called Everyday Eddie. Well, you can say the same thing for Brian Shaw here in Cleveland.
You know, and I'll say this for Brian Shaw. You think back to early in the season, he kind of got off to a rocky start, and you weren't sure, you know, have the appearances caught up to him? Is his stuff not as good as it was a year ago? But
I was going to say, what was everybody saying? Oh, he's overused last year, too many appearances, this and that. And this is a guy that seems to get better the more he pitches.
58 out of his 71 appearances this year have been scoreless. And sometimes, hey, would it be great to have a guy who just goes out there and every time you call his number, he punches out the side, or, you know,
1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
he retired.
But, you know, with Shaw, he's accountable. He's there. He's able to be called upon seemingly.
Yeah, this
in and
game,
night out.
it seems like there's never a 1, 2, 3 inning when you need it anymore. You know, and that was Mariano Rivera spoiling everybody.
Strike 3 call. He just painted the outside corner, much to the dismay of Escobar. Let's look back at our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Keep the Twins in the park. Well, they got loose in the first for a 2-run homer, and they have ridden that pretty much the whole way. And once again, just not much in the way of run support. Kluber's on the mound. For whatever reason, the Indians have not been able to generate much. 2 runs so far in the ninth. Dozier takes a look at inside. Dozier 0 for 2 with a sac fly, drove in the Twins' last run in this game, and that was back in the 4th inning. Close pitch and did not get the call. Back out of play. To left. Charging back is Brantley. Onto the warning track for out number 2. Aaron Hicks will be the batter. He's 0 for 4 on the night with a couple of strikeouts. Chopped to first, Santana. He'll take it himself. And Brian Shaw works, so 1-2-3, ninth inning. Last chance for the Tribe coming up when we come back. That first inning, it's a key moment. Twins had taken a 1-0 lead, man on base, and Trevor Plouffe, bang, hits one out of here for a 2-run shot, made it 3-0 Minnesota. They've only scored 1 run since, but that's been enough because Minnesota pitching has been very good. Tommy Malone got the start. He only went 5 2/3, but at one point he retired 10 Indians hitters in a row. And now the Twins bullpen has come on, and they've been practically lights out. Kevin Jepsen will try to close it out. Jepsen takes over here in the 9th, and the Twins bullpen has thrown 18 consecutive strikes.
Yeah, that's impressive. Perkins came in and just, that was it. Strike after strike.
Yeah, he was 11 for 11.
Well, Buxton goes into center field defensively. And then Hicks moves from center over to right and gets Hunter out of there. So they've got their young speed out in the outfield. Indians down to 3 outs. They need a base runner, and it's always nice to get that first one aboard when you're trying to do something.
They've got Santana, Chisenhall, and Gomes due up. Up high, ball 1.
Well, 2 for 5. Small sample size, but I still like it. There goes Plouffe over to the right side of the infield as Escobar stays over at short with 2 strikes against Santana.
high pop-up, shallow left field. Rosario is there for out number 1. Kevin Jepsen is a guy who has postseason experience. Last year, he pitched in every game in the American League Division Series for the Angels against Kansas City. He gave up 3 runs in the 11th inning in Game 2 and took the loss. Eric Hosmer took him deep with a home run. Broke his bat. Chisenhall will need new lumber. Lonnie 0 for 1 since coming on in the 7th inning.
He's going back in to get a different one. Bat Boy came out with one. He had his secondary bat waiting.
Jepsen, 4 out of 5 pitches for strikes to this point. And the count quickly 0-2. Jepsen's only 31 years old. It just seems like he's been around a long time. 0-2. Popped him up, back to the screen. And Suzuki is there to make the catch. 2 down. You don't see many stay in play like this.
No, I know it. He got inside on Lonnie right there. He popped it up, and he gets right back there. He had room to go, too. So Indians down to their last out.
Yan Gomes having a good night, 2 for 3, couple of singles. We'll try to keep it going for the Indians.
Through that get me over breaking ball for a strike. You can see 4 for 7. Good numbers for Gomes. See if he can keep it going. We've got Ramirez in the on deck circle.
Popped him up. Shallow center. Out goes Dozier. Buxton is in. Buxton puts it away. And the Twins take the series opener by a final score of 4-2. Minnesota keeps their wild card hopes alive. And they deal a serious blow to the Indians' postseason hopes as they send the Indians back below the 500 mark to 77 and 78 on the year. Minnesota goes to 81 and 75. Tommy Malone is the winner. He's 9-5. The save will go to Kevin Jepsen. And for Jepsen, that'll be his 14th of the season. Corey Kluber takes the loss, and he falls to 8-16 on the year.
Well, again, that one inning, the first inning, I guess, came back and got Corey Kluber, got the Indians. And again, offensively, they weren't able to generate any offense. So, boy, oh, boy. The light's getting dimmer.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're running out of games now. And Minnesota, I'm not saying they're in the same situation, but they're in a similar situation.
Look, Minnesota's got to come in here now. The Indians had to sweep them if they wanted to be ahead of the Twins before they left. Right now, Minnesota's got to say, we can't split and be happy. They've got to try and do the same thing and sweep. If not, the least they can do is 3 out of 4 to keep their hopes alive.
So the Twins take the opener, and the Twins bullpen did a number. Their last 27 pitches they threw tonight, 26 were strikes. So they close it out to take the opener by a final of 4-2. That'll wrap things up for Rick Manning and Andre Knott. I'm Matt Underwood. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night with Game 2 of the series. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's. It's coming up next.